Hi and welcome to this demonstration of Deputy Pro. My name is Peter Morrissey and I'm going to walk you through setting up the rostering solution today, right through to extracting a file out for your payroll system, whether it's via a CSV file or an import into payroll systems like WageEasy or Xero. We're going to walk through setting up one location. You can have multiple locations, and adding a new location is very easy once you're up and running. We're then going to also look at setting up employees and the details we require there for communication with employees. Then we'll move on to rostering and have a look at how we schedule the staff and how we can schedule the staff across a single or multiple locations. Finishing with timesheets, where we can approve timesheets and export CSV files for payroll. So let's get started by setting up the first location. We're going to set up a company today called Bitesize. And we'll put in the, just bear with me, we'll just go back there and we'll put in the address of 200 George Street, Sydney. Part of having an address in the system means that we can then track where the employees clock. If they use the personal app, we can see how far they clock from the location. We'll talk about that more when we get to the clock in and clock out process. Other things we set up for the location are the rostering areas or departments. I've got manager, casual and cafe floor. That'll be fine for now. If I needed to add some more, I might just bring full-time up here. We've got some full-time staff, some casual staff. You can click and drag. You can create any type of department that you need, any number of departments. Some settings that we set up: what week do you start? Does your pay week start? Time, start and finish each day. Some default shift hours, default meal breaks, and we can prevent modification after a certain period of time. Settings for timesheets: I won't go through all of these, but we can set things like round the start of the timesheet to the closest 15 minutes from where they clock. There's a whole heap of rules in here. We won't get through them all today. And so that's pretty much setting up the first location. I'll save those changes. We'll be able to see now where we've got Bitesize, the location, 200 George Street. There's our PIN. As employees clock in and out now, we will capture their PIN if they use the personal app against their timesheets. We'll have a look at that when we get to the timesheets. On the screen, some other information that I can see right now is I can see employees with a green dot. These are employees that are currently clocked in, and I can see employees with blue dots. These are employees who are yet to come in later today. They're scheduled to work later today. If we had an employee right now who was late, we'd have a red dot at the front of the screen. Now you can see that we encourage people to upload their photos, and if an employee doesn't upload their photos, just their first initial and surname initial will appear as the icon for that employee. Let's click on one person here, Benjamin, who's scheduled to come in later today at 3:30 p.m. If I click on Ben, and I'm going to pretend that Ben's just called in. We know he's due to start at 3:30. He's just called in and said he was sick. One of the first things we can do with our solution is quickly find replacements without sitting down at a desk dialing lots of people trying to find an employee to come in. This is a huge time saver for every business. I'm going to click on Find Replacement, and I will choose Addison and Aidan. One of those two people will fill that shift. I'm pretty confident. I know my people, and I'm sure that one of those people will take that shift. I'll invite these people to work that shift that's available. And now what's happened is an email has been sent out to let those two people know, and also a message on the free app. If any of those employees had the free app, a message has been sent out to those people saying that a shift is available today from 3:30 to 6:30. Now the first person to text message back and accept that shift will get that shift. The second person who replies back will get a message saying, sorry, the shift has already been filled. So that's a clever way of getting shifts filled without you sitting on the telephone just dialing people to fill in. Let's move on. So that's just a little bit about what we can see on the screen. Once we've set up the location and the address, we need to set up employees. So let's go over to people. And here we have some employees already set up into the system. You can add new people via our little tab here, where you can add one at a time, or you can upload a spreadsheet. It's very easy to do. Let's just view one employee and see the type of information that we keep here. We've got a first name and surname, email address and cell number. That's so that we can send information through to Adam via his email and or his mobile phone. If he has a smartphone, he can download the free app, and we can push information to Adam that will tell him details of his schedule and also any other information we need to promote to Adam. If Adam has a smartphone and uses the calendar on the smartphone, the employee can tick a box that will effectively put the schedule or his roster directly into his smartphone calendar, and casual employees love that because it just automatically puts the roster into the calendar. They can quickly see at a glance of their calendar what they can and can't do, or what other shifts they can take from another employer. When we set up each employee, we give them access levels. So an employee can only see employee data. We also have other levels here where you get to see more, up to system administrator, where you get to see everything. Works at bite size, that's the location. If you had a situation where one employee could work at multiple locations, then clicking multiple locations is a case of just doing what we've done there. You'd have to have the location set up. This helps with scheduling, especially when you've got larger businesses with lots of locations. It helps scheduling so that Adam will now appear as available at bite size and also Beanley, but he won't appear at any other locations if there were more locations. So it just helps with the scheduling process. You can set up things like training, and there's some examples of training here. Bobcat excavator, I'm sure we've got first aid is in there. There's other types of training that we've got. Training can also help schedulers when you've got lots and lots of people. If you've only got small amounts of people on location, 10 to 20 staff, the training doesn't have the same impact as when you have hundreds of staff. So training is very powerful when you've got lots of people. Some other information we can set up on the screen here: weekday rate, Saturday rate, Sunday rate. Now, as I'm recording this at the end of April in 2014, we are only a week or so away from including time and a half and double time. We've also got public holiday rate, and you don't have to put rates in these boxes, but if you put the rates in, that will allow the roster to cost out and also give you good information in the reports as far as what we said we would roster against what we physically actually did do through the roster from a dollar perspective. So I'll just save that. We've got our employees set up. When we've got lots of employees in the system, you can search up the top here and find employees quite easily. As I start to type letters, the system will diminish the list of people that fit into the letters that I've typed so far, and automatically I can find Adam and I can pull up his details. On the screen, as we went through before, we can find a replacement for Adam. There's other things we can do. We can give him a break, we can stop his shift, we can assign him a task. There's quite a myriad of things we can do. We can see recent timesheets that Adam has provided from working. We can see leave that's been requested and in this case approved. Unavailability, if the employee wants to advise availability, they can do that through the free app as well. We'll look at that shortly. And recent journals, we'll talk about recent journals when we get to the approving of the timesheets. So we'll just close Adam off there. Now we're going to move off to the rostering and the schedule. So I'll just click on rostering and we'll just wait for the roster to come up. And I'll just explain a few things that we can see here. Okay, we've got no full-time staff. Here's the departments. We've got manager, full-time, casual, and you can move these departments around back on the home screen of the location. If you wanted casuals to be at the top of the list, then we can just click and drag back on the home screen where we're setting up the location. We can see your location, or we can see other locations if we have permission to see other locations. You may only have permission to see your location. And of course you can also drill down to departments. If you had lots and lots of people in your business, drilling down to a department may even be powerful for you as well. So let's just leave that there. We can see we've got some weather information. That can be handy for some businesses where they can see the weather forecast based on their location. And let's go and have a bit of a play with the rosters. So the first thing I'll do is Saturday, May the 3rd. Just going to add some people. We're going to have a busy day, and I'll put this person in from 9 till 3. And when I select the time here, the start and finish time, the only people that pop up in this list below are people who have the ability to work this shift that I'm trying to build. They're not already working in this location, and they're not already working in other locations in your business if you have multiple locations. So I'll just choose Aidan. and add shift. Now, when I've added Aidan's shift, we can see the entire roster is in green. And being green means that we've already published this roster and the information has already gone to employees. This is this week's roster, it's Monday, and the roster applies from today, but we already sent this out last week. Now we're making a couple of changes for this week that have come in this morning. I'm just going to add a full-timer because we didn't add one. I'll just add Alan. And once I've picked Alan, I can Control-C, click on Tuesday and Control-V. And this will be a quick way of building Alan across the screen for the first week. Once we build the first week's roster, we can then simply go and copy this roster for next week, which is nice and easy. Just going to add a different person here for Sunday. We'll get for Saturday and Sunday. We'll get Addison, and we'll put Addison in on Sunday. So there's an example of just building the shift out. We can see we've got Alan working there. Now, when I click on Alan, I can see that the shift here is for 7.5 hours, and it's for 37.5 hours for the week. That's his total hours for the week. He's got no dollars assigned against his name, that's why there's no dollars there. I can see that it's yellow, that's telling me that he hasn't received this information, and Addison hasn't received this information, nor has Aidan. We need to publish the shift for that to occur. So we'll publish the shift in just a moment. If I click on Ash, Ash actually has some dollars assigned against the profile. So Ash, this 2.5 hour shift, there's obviously not many dollars in there. We must have $1 in there. And for 31 hours, $31. Let me just find somebody who has some more dollars there. Here we go, 3 hours at $75. So this employee is on $25 an hour. 3 hours at $75 is the shift we have highlighted. And down here we can see the total for Craig for the week is 37.5 hours, totaling $975. This just helps us get a dollar value for what's happening. Only managers can see the dollars, and you don't have to use the dollars if you don't want to. Let me just go to Friday, and on Friday, when I click on Friday, I can see there's 18 shifts for Friday, 76 hours is the total, for a cost of $1,290. Down the bottom I can see the weekly summary. 510 hours for the whole week, $9,289. Now this really helps when you're trying to manage your roster based on a dollar figure, which some people do. So if I wanted to bring my roster down to below $9,000, I've simply got to remove some people from my roster. So what I might do is I might click on Addison and delete this shift and go OK. We're down to 9,120. I might take Addison off the Sunday shift as well, and now we've just gone under $9,000. So some people do manage by dollars, where many people are forced to have an amount of people at their location based on the service they're trying to provide and the customers that arrive. So now we've got a bit of a roster, we've had a bit of a play with that. You can build the roster out as much as you like to build it out, and then when you're ready you can publish this out to the staff. So what we're about to do is publish this information, but only the changes for this week. So the only people that will be notified here are the people who are yellow. So let me just click publish. We'll publish the updates only. Next step, we'll go through the departments. You would normally send an email and smartphone push notification. All the employees can have our free app, anyone that has a smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, you can receive the email. If you want your employees to receive the information in another method like SMS, then you can choose the top option with SMS, but there will be a cost associated with that. As you tick the box, no employee has mobile, so we don't have a mobile phone number for these employees, so we actually have to go via email and smartphone, or in this case, for demonstration purposes, we just go no notifications, just mark the shifts as published. I'll just go next and publish. Now some people also do that because they want to print the roster out. So once the roster is completed, we can come up here to the print button and we can print this and put it on the wall. Of course, because it's electronic, it means that as soon as we put it on the wall and we make a change, then the one on the wall is out of date. So you've got to be careful there when you're printing the roster. So that's a little bit about setting up the schedule on a weekly basis. I'll just go to one day. We'll go to Friday and click on day, and here's our day view. So on a single day, we can actually make changes. I'm just going to bring Brian back here a little bit. I'll bring Jack back in a bit earlier. And okay, this is a good example. There may not be any other shifts for Jack Frost in this week. Please notify Jack via email or phone, as further publishing actions may not notify him. So I'll just go okay. In other words, he's only got one shift at this stage. We can adjust time, so I'm going to extend the time of this shift for Ben, And you notice every time I make a change, we're turning the shift yellow again. That means that we've made a change, but the employee doesn't know about it. So let me just go and publish those changes. I'll just go back to week. And we'll publish those changes, publish updates only. And now the employees will be notified via email or the smartphone app that they've got on their smartphone. Any employees that don't have a smartphone app, they can simply get the email, or you can turn on the SMS feature. So that's a little bit about rostering. There's a whole lot more. We don't go through everything in 15 minutes because we need to show more of the program, but that should give you a good feel for how the solution works. Let's move on to, before we go to timesheets, okay, so now what we need to do is clock in and clock out. So just bear with me as I set up my iPad and bring it up on the screen so that you can see the iPad on the screen. Okay, there's a number of different methods for the employees to clock in. Now we can see the iPad, so just bear with me. And I'm going to walk through these two apps. Excuse me for my children in the background there. I'm going to walk through these two apps. The Deputy Kiosk app, this is the kiosk that allows multiple people to clock in at one location. And I'm also going to go through the Personal app. This is the app that employees can download and put on their own mobile phone. And I'll also show you a very, very popular feature of this Personal app for managers that gives managers a whole lot different visibility of the system, particularly when you've got multiple locations or if you're a manager that goes away from time to time. We'll start by using the Deputy Kiosk. I'll just bring it up on the screen, and this is what it would look like in your business. Here we are with the kiosk. On the screen straight away I can see some green dots telling me these people are currently clocked in. As a manager, I could walk straight past this kiosk and push the working tab, and that will give me a list straight away of all the people who are currently clocked in. I can also push the rostered tab, and that will give me a list of all the employees who are scheduled to come in later today. So that's a little bit about what a manager can see straight from the iPad as they walk past it. We've provided a lot of time clocks over the years to people, and the time clocks don't seem to give you this sort of information at this level. So this is a very neat feature. Another thing we can do is we can send recent announcements. Now, I didn't actually do one of these prior to starting the demonstration, but here's some from last week. This Easter we have some people working through, and we are looking for drivers who would like to work over the Easter break. You can publish these from head office. They can go out to a single location, or they can go out to all your locations. The message can be seen by everybody who walks up to the iPad to clock in. So those messages can be quite powerful, and it opens up a level of communication that you may not otherwise have had, or you may have tried to complete via personal messages face-to-face or via sending emails out to staff. I'm going to clock in as Kathy, so we'll just go to, I'll push K and we'll find Kathy, and there's Kathy on the screen, and I'll push Kathy. So now I'm being asked for a PIN number. I'll just put in Kathy's PIN number. This is how we clock in. When Kathy goes to clock in, Kathy can see the messages that were just on the front screen, and those messages will appear here. And then Kathy can just simply come over to Start Shift and can start this shift. So I'm going to start this shift, and in this case I've got it set up to ask what area am I working in. I'll just say I'm working in reception 1. You don't have to have those departments set up, that's just an option that you can turn on. And now it's saying you are required to take a photo for bumping timesheet. In other words, you can turn on a feature that will take a photo of the employee when they clock in. You can turn that feature on or off. Some customers love that feature, and some customers aren't bothered by whether they use it or not. So the employee would simply go OK, take a photo, and that would conclude the timesheet. And then when they finish clocking, the information will go back to the main screen here that sits on the dashboard, where you can see all the employees that are in the system. So that's a little bit about the iPad, where the employees can all come to one central location in your office to clock in and clock out, or in your location. The iPad can be a standard iPad, or it can be a mini iPad. The mini iPads today are less than $400, so they're not a bad option as well. Now let's go and look at the Personal app. That's the little blue one here. We'll click on the Personal app. Now this is designed to work on an iPhone or an Android. And we'll just take a bit of a walk through the app here. We've got Home, Tasks, Shift, and Me. These are icons all available to the employees. And then we have a Team icon that's only available to management. I'll show you what that's about when we get to it shortly. So the first thing I'll click on is Me. I can see personally, I can see my approved timesheets on the screen, and I can see my schedule as well. Now personally, I can actually, with this app, push the plus button up the top, and then I can come down and mark unavailability. So if I can't work next week, I'm just going to select a date here, and I'll just go to May, and I'll go to the 4th and say I can't work that day. It's all day. And I could, as a uni student, say this is recurring weekly because I'm at uni on this day, and that means that I won't appear in the roster on these days, which is very clever. And now I put a comment. I now have, excuse my typing, uni on this day. Okay. And we can go done. Now that information has gone through. It doesn't mean you're definitely going to get those days off, but it means you've alerted your managers to the fact that you may need some time off on those days, and you'd prefer to not work those days. In the schedule, when we go to roster, those days you won't appear on those days as being available, but it can be overridden, so you can still be asked to work. Now let's go to, so that's a little bit about the employees, and the employee through the shift button in the middle can actually clock on. So we can just push the start button to clock on. We will take the GPS position of where the employee is. This only works on smartphones. It's a great feature. The employees can't sit at home and clock in and clock out. They must be on location. The pin, the GPS pin that we take when an employee clocks in, goes onto the employee's timesheet. When you're approving timesheets, you can see if the pin is on your location or whether it's away from the location. Once employees understand how this feature works, they don't try and cheat the system. Let's go to team, and this is a great tool now for managers. Let's just choose the location bite size. You can choose, if you have access, you can choose any location you want. You don't have to be in the office to see this. You can be on the road, you can be in another country, on holidays, and you get to see this type of information. I can see who's on shift right now. I can see the people who are on shift, and as I scroll down, I can see the people who are scheduled to come in later today. So if I'm out of the office and I get a call, I'll just scroll down here, I get a call from Craig. Craig's due to work from 6 till 10 at Emu Cafe, and 2:30 to 6. So as a manager, so Craig's working a couple of shifts. Craig calls and says, I can't work from 6 till 10 tonight. As a manager, I can push Craig's name, and a little option box comes underneath. I can use the middle one here, and I can find a replacement. So this is a fast way to replace Craig. I'm not in the office, but I can still have the ability to find a replacement. I'll just come down here and go, Aidan always turns up. I'll send that to Aidan. I know that Aidan will turn up at 6 o'clock. Done. Aidan's just got a message on his mobile phone because he's using the smartphone app that says there's a shift available from 6 till 10. So that's a little bit about the personal app. It's a great feature there for managers. I'll just close that down now, and we'll turn that off. Okay, great. Excuse me. Once the employees clock in and out, okay, we've got 7 minutes to go, so I've got to get going with the next little bit. We can approve timesheets and then prepare timesheets for payroll. So I'll just go back here and we'll approve timesheets. Just give you an example. I can click on one name. I can look down the list of start and finish times. I can see the hours, and if I'm happy with everything that I see, I can approve all the timesheets. That's one way to approve. The green timesheets are already approved. The yellow timesheets, as a manager, I still need to complete. Let's click on Ben. Here's some timesheets. I can do timesheets one at a time. Here's a timesheet from 10:39 to 3:39, 4.5 hours with a 30-minute break. The employee was scheduled to start at 10:30 but clocked in at 10:39. Because they were late, this is yellow. So we highlight to managers that it's yellow. If the employee clocked in with their own personal app, they would have a pin on the screen close to the bite-size location, and you would see how far away it is from the bite-size location. If the pin was over here, you'd go, they've clocked on their way to work, you need to talk to the employee about that process. So once the timesheets are all approved, there's a process to go through to do that. You can do other things like create an employee journal. There's only 5 or 6% of our customers use this feature, but the customers that use it love the feature. You can leave an employee journal here that says, Ben stayed back to help with the truck unload. we'd call that a positive journal entry. Now you can have negative journal entries as well. These are journal entries made by managers that are approving timesheets, that are authorised to approve timesheets, that don't have permission, but the employees can't see the details of these messages. You can draw on this information in 6 months' time, run a report on Ben and see all the journal entries that were kept against Ben's name. I'll just approve that one and continue. Okay, once the timesheets are approved from each location or a single location, then the payroll person can come into the export timesheets. Let's take a look. Export timesheets, and I'll go back to last week's data where we've got more data. Export timesheets is where you can export to a CSV or export to your payroll, depending on your payroll solution. I'll select all, and as soon as I select all, here's all the timesheets that have been approved this week by managers. I can see 400 hours, $7,500 of wages. I can go down and look at the individual employees down here, one day at a time. I can see the total hours, total dollars for each employee. If I'm happy with what I'm looking at on the screen, I can export these items out to a CSV file. If I have zero or Wage Easy, then I might be able to export this information directly to my payroll system. This solution will not at this level export directly to MYOB, and QuickBooks and those types of payroll systems, they need what we call award configuration, so they need to go up to level 2 of our solution. Level 1 of our solution will give you a generic CSV file, and you can export into Xero, Zen Payroll. There's some other clever payroll systems that you can export out to. So I'll cancel that. That's a little bit about exporting out to payroll. If you've got any questions about that, I'll make sure our email address is at the end of this demonstration. You can certainly send through your questions and we'll help you with those. Final thing to look at with a couple of minutes to go is reports. Two very common reports at this level: availability and leave. This is a leave calendar effectively for your business, for all your locations, or you can look at a single location. And it just gives you the leave calendar, shows leave requested, leave approved, leave timesheets, shows you the roster, shows you unavailability. So it's just a visual of what's going on. I've got some leave here waiting approval. Peter Rosterman has asked for some leave. I'll click on that. And manage a comment. I'll just go Pete. I won't go Peter. I'll go I approve. And I'll go approve, and as soon as I've approved that sent a message back to the employee that I've approved. There's an example of one that I've declined. As soon as we approve or decline, the information goes back to the employee advising them that it has been approved. And now we've got an electronic transaction there tracking that process. So that's a little bit about the leave calendar. I'll just click on reports again. The other popular report, up the top here, we can see on this one how many people have passed 6 months or 12 months. It has a bit of a record keeping there. Birthdays, missing emails, MJ's missing an email, missing mobile phones. There's a list of people missing mobile phones. Helps you get your database up to date. And the other popular report is rostered versus timesheet. And if you have sales, you can set up sales as well. Let's just go back to last week. So here's an example where we've actually, in one department, cafe, we've rostered 97 hours and we physically worked 97 hours. So there's no variance. We don't have an example of a variance here, but if you rostered 97 hours and then somebody called in sick and you didn't replace them, then the timesheet hours would be less than the rostered hours, and you'd see an hour variance here as a percentage. Same with the dollars, that would impact the dollars, 2,408. If you had an employee pull out on $10 an hour and replace them with an employee that cost $20 an hour, the total for the hours would be correct, but the wages would blow out because you've replaced a lower cost person with a higher cost person, and then you can see that variance. These reports are very, very handy to see the cost of labour in your business and what impact that has. And that's the report. So that's pretty much an overview of the rostering deputy system. You can commence a 30-day trial anytime. At the end of this demonstration, I'll provide you a link to do that. Any questions, my email address will pop up at the end. My name is Peter Morrissey. I appreciate the time you've taken to watch this demonstration today. And any questions, you can email or contact us on our 1300 number. I'll put those details up on the website as well. And that concludes today's demonstration of Deputy Pro. Thank you very much. Have a great day.